Hi everybody, I'm back again for part 2 of my spooky 6x6 mini album. I'm making the covers in this video, and again I'm using watercolor paper. It's just a different sized paper pack, and I am cutting the covers down to 6x6, so I only needed one sheet of paper to do this. And I'm basically doing the same idea as I did for the pages. I'm not going to decorate it in a different way because I want it to, tie in with the album. So I'm starting out with some Tim Holtz stamps, and this one is called Faded Type. I'm using archival ink to stamp the image because I don't want any layers that come after this to disrupt the image. It bothers me that I did that the 4th time. I know it doesn't matter in the end because it's not noticeable, but it's like, why did I have to do that? It looked better when it was just 3. Oh well. So for the covers, I am using the same colors as I did in part 1. And those colors are Nickel Azo Yellow, Quinacridone Nickel Azo Gold, Van Dyke Brown, Indian Yellow Hue, Carbon Black, and possibly Titanium White. And they're all golden fluid paints. I don't know if any of you watch Ellen. I don't watch the show because I don't watch TV, but I'm subscribed to her on YouTube, and I just watched the video. Like, every Halloween she puts Andy through a haunted house, which is my absolute favorite thing to watch. And this year, due to COVID, they couldn't do a haunted house, so they had a haunted drive-through. It was still hilarious. I just finished watching it before I did this voiceover. It was good. He cracks me up. So I'm just getting some paint on these pieces of card. I'm doing the front and the back because you will see both. But I'm not doing a lot to the inside of the covers. And actually, I don't do a lot to the outside of the back cover. So this is a long video as well. It's not quite as long as the first one, but it is a little over, about 35 minutes. That's including the pictures at the end, which I thought I would include, so maybe you can get a better look at the pages. And I do have pictures on my Instagram as well. I don't have them all posted yet. I've just been doing little bits here and there. So there will be some different photos on my Instagram. This stencil is Dilutions, and it's called Skulls. I had a hard time with this one because the holes in the stencil are so tiny, and the watercolor paper is so thick, so it's hard to really get that image in this way. Excuse me. I know it looks messy right now. I find with the fluid paints where they're so thin, they dry so quickly on the gel plate, which sometimes it's great and sometimes it's a little bit of a bummer. So my Keurig machine is acting up. I used to brew coffee like, regular pot of coffee. And then we got a Keurig and I just started drinking all Keurig coffee. And I've gone through a phase where hardly any coffee tastes good to me. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped drinking the brew coffee. I just wasn't enjoying it. Oh, this is another Dilution stencil. It's, you know how she had those sets that were a stamp and a stencil in the package? So this is the large cobweb set. So anyways, just could not like any brewed coffee, and it used to be the only way I liked coffee. Like, I didn't like Tim Hortons coffee or Starbucks. I still don't like Starbucks or anything like that. Like, I only liked my home brewed coffee, and now I can't stand it, and my Keurig machine isn't working properly, and I don't like the brewed stuff. So I'm wondering, like, am I doing something wrong, like, with my brewed coffee? Like, do you guys have any tips? Like, do you add something to make it, I don't know, taste better? Tim Holtz Lost and Found stamp set. That's an old one. Anyway, if you guys have any tips on brewing a good pot of coffee, I'll take it, because mine is tasting horrible and I have to have my morning coffees. So I do appreciate any tips. So back to the album. I could not get that stamp to stamp properly. That's one thing I found. Like, I didn't buy Tim Holtz stamps for the longest time because his clear stamps, like years ago when he had the clear ones, I was never impressed with how they stamped. I always found they stamped so poorly. So I didn't buy his stamps for the longest time because I didn't, like, I loved the images, but I didn't like the quality. And then he came out with the rubber ones, and I tried those and it was like, thank goodness. So yeah, if you have an option between clear and rubber, which I don't even know if he makes any clear ones anymore, but I suggest the rubber, unless the clear ones have improved over the years. But honestly, I don't think he does any clear ones anymore. I could be wrong, but I haven't noticed any. But his rubber stamps are awesome. That bug, that one was from, what is that called? Specimen. And this is a skull stencil from Visible Image, and it's called Skull Shadow. I like that one. They have some nice stencils too. Although I do think that may be the only one I have. So this one, I didn't want the negative. I wanted the actual skull. And I guess I could have pulled out my gel plate and did it where I put the paint on the gel plate, then laid my stencil down, removed the paint I didn't want, pulled my stencil, and then pull the print. But I wanted to make sure that I got the image, and with the paint drying so fast, I wasn't having much luck. I could have used Liquitex Basics paint and I'm sure it would have worked, but I don't know, for some reason I did it this way. Can't really remember why. So here, there's so much detail around the teeth that I thought I would try to get at least an impression of that, so there was less painting I had to do in that area. So that's why I applied the paint to the stencil, hoping I could like kind of stamp it on the paper. But as you can see, it did not work at all. Not good. I don't know why. I mean, I even added more paint the second time and it was like, nope, not doing it. So now I'm just painting in the skull. And I really am wondering why I chose to do it this way. Maybe I wanted it watered down. I have no idea. I can't remember. Doesn't really matter. I like how it looks in the end, so. See, sometimes I don't even know why I do the things I do. It could have been just pure laziness and not wanting to get my gel plate out again. That wouldn't surprise me. There's that little Halloween set from Michaels by Tim Holtz again. I used that one in part 1. Now, if you use paint on your stamps, clean the paint off because that will dry on and you won't get as good of a stamped image down the road when you use it with your ink pad. Now the stamps from this set, these actually stamp well. It's these really, really old stamps that I have a problem with. And I even tried, there was a tip given once where they said to lightly sand the stamp, and that didn't work for me either. I know this side, it looks so ugly. And no matter what I did, it wasn't looking good. This is another Dilution stencil. It's called Shattered. I was trying to do that take away the paint thing, but the paints were drying so fast. So I decided to go in with carbon black and stencil the whole thing. I figured it was looking so ugly that it'd be best to find a way to cover most of it up. And this worked for that. And I'm going in with another image from the crow stencils that I made. I think I have 4 different crows on this set. And this is one where he's like sitting on top of a pole, an electric. I don't feel like I'm saying it right. My words are escaping me. See, bad coffee. I'm not awake properly. So if I had it back, I think I would have left that background the way it was. Like, I like that I outlined the crow and the power pole and stuff like that because it was hard to see against the background. But you'll see what I do with the background after I'm done this, and I think I wish I left it the way it was. Not this part, but I add white to all the shattered stencil. I'm kind of wishing I just left it black. Okay, I guess I'm not doing it yet. I'm going in with the titanium white paint and coloring in the skull. I guess I wanted it to pop out more. I like how it looks this way because where I watered it down and there's black underneath, it kind of gives it that dirty white gray look, and I don't know, it looks dirty and grungy, and I think that's perfect for what this is. I'm outlining toil and trouble so it'll stand out a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to do what I was talking about. See, I kind of wish I didn't do that. What's your thoughts on that? Did you like it better stark black as well? I kind of like the highlights on the pole, but the background, yeah, I think I wish I left that black. So now this is my back cover. That is the inside, I do believe. I think that's pretty much all I did with the back, like the inside. So now I'm cutting down a piece of paper for the spine to join my album together. So I just left the book like closed, but loosely, like I didn't squeeze it closed. And then I measured the size of the spine. And I'm going to do kind of like an accordion fold spine. So I cut it to 6 inches, and across I cut it to, let's see, 3 inches. But I do end up cutting some of it off. So I'm scoring it in the center. And then, come on. As you can see, I'm working as I go, so you're seeing my thought process. I don't have this all figured out yet. Okay, so I score it 1/2 inch on each side of the center score line, and then I go 1/8 of an inch on each side of that. Because the whole idea, like I said, is like an accordion fold spine, but then between the pages I wanted a tiny little bit of a gusset just to, I don't know, just to give it that little extra room so the pages turn nicely and it doesn't, like, you know how sometimes your album looks more open on the outside? I just wanted the pages to lay nicer. And it's thick paper, not the spine, but the album. And the paper I used for the spine is just Recollections cardstock. So the idea of this, the inside pages, I'm going to end up gluing them together. Like it's accordion folded, and then I'm going to glue the backs together. And then the spine that I made, that one, I guess you would call it the mountain part, the middle fold there, that will be sandwiched in between the fold of the pages of the very middle of the book. You'll see when I'm putting it together. It's easier to see than me just explaining it. So as you can see, I cut off, I don't know how much I cut off, maybe 1/4 of an inch off each end, because I didn't want it to be covering too much of the cover. And this is just some scrap fabric I had, because I'm going to go around the outside with that as well. The paper is to bind the whole album together, and then the fabric is just basically covering up that paper. So as you can see, I'm trying to figure it all out in my head how I'm going to do this. I'm just getting the edges of my fabric to fray some, so I'm pulling on some of the threads. I'm using double-sided sticky tape for my binding, because I want it to stick well. So that middle will get stuck together. And then you have your little T piece. And then the cover will go on each of the outsides. And then that middle one that we just stuck together will go on the inside of the album, because there's only 3 pages to this album. So that gets stuck to the back cover, and it's being stuck on the outside of the back cover. You could do it on the inside if you want. You would have to put tape on the other side of the spine. But I wanted I'm doing the fabric, so the fabric's going to cover the paper. So that's why I'm sticking it to the outside. I'm going to do the same thing with the front cover. I'm just making sure my folds are creased well. So now you see we have the covers attached, and we just have that one piece left in the middle. And I'm showing you where it's going to go in the album. So now to glue our pages of our album together, we're just going to, where they go back to back, you're just going to glue them together. So I'm just putting some sticky tape on the outside edges, and then I'm going to do some glue stick in the middle. So now the 2 pieces, or maybe I'll do this one first. Yep. So remember, we had 2 strips that we had accordion folded. So I'm just gluing the outside pieces first of the 2 strips. That's the wrong page, isn't it? Yep. Luckily it wasn't stuck down really good. Okay, so now we want these 2 to be joined together. So I'm going to glue it, but I'm going to leave the very back of it open so I can attach it to the cover. And I have a strip of sticky tape on the outside. I'm sorry you couldn't see that because I was off camera. So my pages are all glued together, and I left a bit of an opening at the back of the middle page. And I'm going to put sticky tape on both sides of that flap. If you need further instructions with this, like hopefully, I mean, it's not too complicated. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. But if you have any questions, just put it in the comments below. And if I haven't been very clear with my instructions in this video, I can try and do another one just showing you how to do that binding. Just let me know if it's all good or if you need more instructions. So my piece of fabric was a bit too big, so I'm cutting it down because I don't want it to cover too much of the cover. But I did want it to go over the spine a little further than where the paper ends. So I'm taking it, excuse me, taking it to my sewing machine, and I just sewed the fabric onto the covers. And I don't mind seeing the stitching. If you don't want to do that, or if you don't have a sewing machine, then just use double-sided tape. That'll be fine. Okay, so now that middle flap goes inside the opening of those middle pages. I'm going to stick that in there, making sure we have our pages lined up with our cover. And making sure it's in there and not out too far. And when I get it where I want it, I just pinch it where the tape is exposed to keep it in place. And then I remove that tape once I get it where I want it. And then we have to remove the tape on the other side. And that is it. It's not a hard binding at all. Like, I may have made it look hard because I was figuring it out as I went along, and I kept that in the video. But it's not hard. So our album is put together, and I thought I would add just a little something, nothing fancy, but just a little something on the side. So I'm going to get some beads, and I'm going to string them on some, I think it's like a twine. It's just some really thick black thread. I think it may be for crocheting, but it's not wool. Like, it's a really, I don't know, like a thick thread. I don't know what it's called. So I got these cool skull beads and those other beads at Michael's. I thought the skulls were so cool. I don't know how often I'll use them, but they were on sale, and I'm like, I know I'll at least use a few. Like, they're really cool. And that other bead is just some wooden beads, and I believe all those beads in that glass jar, they're all from the dollar store. I'm sure there was probably an easier way I could have threaded the beads onto the string, but oh well. I did it the way I did it, and it worked. The holes on some of these beads are messy, but I mean, it's from the dollar store, so you get what you pay for, right? And I still got the thread in there, so it's all good. I don't know why, but instead of just leaving it like that, I take a thread and I go around and go through the bead once again. Just to, I don't know. It looks kind of cool, but I'm still not sure why I did it. I thought I did anyways. Yep, I do. I believe I take that off. And I wanted an orange bead, but I didn't have any, so I just grab a Posca paint pen and I color it orange. That works, right? So here we go. I take one of the threads out and then I loop it around and go through again. Oh, and I painted that circle wooden bead. I painted it black. I painted them both black, actually. This is funny. I'm looking for my other black bead. Do you see it? I could have edited this out, but I thought, no, this is funny. I cannot find that black bead anywhere. See, I'm here for your amusement. Go ahead and laugh at me. I really like those circle beads painted black. And I just used a Posca paint pen for that as well. Maybe I just wrapped it around because I like the look of it. I don't know. There we go. Something simple, but it adds a little fun to the album. The eye on this needle was just way too small. I don't have many needles with bigger eyes on them. So I just sew this onto the top of my spine. Nothing fancy. It would have been a bit easier if I had more thread left, but I was not redoing it. it is on there. I did play around with the idea of putting beads on the other pieces of thread that were on the needle. I tried it, but I didn't like the look of it, so I took them off and just had that one set. So here is a flip through of the album. And like I said, I'll have pictures at the end of the video of each page. So I hope you enjoyed this two-part video of my spooky, my version of Halloween album. And if you give it a try, let me know. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. Thanks so much for stopping by. Let me know if you like my videos by leaving me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also head over to my Instagram account and say hi to me over there. If you have any video requests, leave a comment down below and I'll see what I can do. And don't forget to check out my other videos.